Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar today on advocating as leaders. This webinar is the second in a series of webinars that the APPNA Advocacy Committee will be conducting throughout the year. My name is Dr. Smina Qureshi, and I chair the APPNA Advocacy Committee. So joining me today is a panel of very distinguished national and international physician leaders. And the point of today's session is to learn from them on how they pursued their journey, the various challenges they faced on their way, and as well as some wisdom that they can impart on the rest of us, the APPNA membership, for those of us who wish to pursue in their footsteps. So before we begin, and in the interest of time, I've just taken a brief synopsis. So I will be introducing each of the panelists, but very briefly because we want to get to the questions and get to their wisdom first. So in no particular order, I'll start off with introducing Dr. Babar Rao. He's the current APPNA president. He's a board-certified dermatologist. As well, he serves as a clinical professor at Rutgers University and a professor at Weill Cornell University. He's a prolific academician. He's authored over 500 peer-reviewed publications, as well as written 2 dermatology textbooks. He's also the founder of Night Eye Skin, and as well as all of you know, he's the current APPNA president. He's also a committed global humanitarian. He's participated in several initiatives throughout the world, specifically in Pakistan. He's participated in a girls' school, a burn center, as well as a pediatric surgery unit in Pakistan. So thank you, Dr. Babar. This is not all the accomplishments he has, but for the benefit of time, we're just summarized it. So next, I'd like to introduce, thank you for participating today, Dr. Omar Atiq. He's the President Emeritus of the American College of Physicians, or better known as ACP. He graduated from Khyber Medical College, as well as was its best graduate in 1983. He's board certified in oncology, hematology, and internal medicine. He's also a distinguished professor at the Rockefeller Cancer Institute. So at the ACP, he also received a mastership, which is called the MACP. He serves as the president, as well as on the board of the Arkansas Medical Society, as well as serves on the Arkansas State Medical Board. And like Dr. Babar, he has in the past served as the 25th president of APPNA. He was also awarded the APPNA Gold Medal and the APPNA Lifetime Achievement Award. And I was very impressed to read that he holds the inaugural Omar T. Atiq Distinguished Chair in Physician Leadership at the University of Arkansas. I think that's a very high privilege. So thank you, Dr. Omar. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Humayun Chaudhry. He's the president and CEO of the Federation of State Medical Boards. And that represents as all of you know, over 69 state and territorial medical and osteopathic licensing boards. He's also a clinical associate professor of medicine at George Washington University, and the magazine Modern Healthcare has recognized him as one of the 100 most influential people in healthcare. So Dr. Chaudhry has also authored several, actually over 90 peer-reviewed articles in the New England Journal of Medicine and other publications such as JAMA. He's also the secretary and past chair of the International Association of Medical Regulatory Authorities. So that's very good. This is basically an international body. Then we get on to Dr. Omar Latif. He is the president and CEO of Rush University System for Health, as well as Rush University Medical Center. He's a North American medical grad. He graduated from Des Moines University with a fellowship in pulmonary and critical care medicine. He was also named by Stat News as one of the 50 leaders shaping healthcare. So lots of distinguished panelists here. And last but not least, of course, Dr. Muhammad Saniullah. He's a graduate of Nishtar Medical College. He's an experienced physician leader and entrepreneur. He has served several leadership positions in various hospital systems. He's also served as a board member in APPNA, Board of Directors, and most recently served as its secretary. He has been a board member of the Oklahoma State Medical Association, as well as the first internationally trained physician to be appointed as a board member of the Oklahoma State Medical Board. So very, very thankful for you all to be here today, taking your time out of your busy schedules. So the way we'll do and conduct this webinar is I have a list of questions I prepared, but please feel free to chime in with your own anecdote or your own experience relevant to the question so that it's a very natural, evolving conversation. So first of all, what I'd like to ask, and personally I'm very interested myself, is when you first entered medical school, lots of us were very happy and excited. Oh, we made it to medical school. But when you joined medical school, as you progressed in your medical education, did you think about these positions that you've achieved today? Did you aspire at the very initial get-go and plan for these positions of leadership? Maybe I'll ask Dr. Hamayo first.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Samira, and thank you, Dr. Rao, for your leadership and everyone's leadership. This is a wonderful opportunity to get together with so many of you. That's a great question. I don't know what my colleagues will say, but for me, this was not my aspiration to one day be the CEO at FSMB or to be one of the people in charge of the USMLE program. I just like my classmates, wanted to be the best doctor that I could be at the bedside. So my focus was clinical excellence. And I was always a good follower. I was a good student. I was a good resident. And at some point, I had to make the transition from doing that and actually leading. And so for me, my first experience in a substantive leadership role was when I was asked at my residency program in New York at the NYU Langone Long Island Hospital to become chief resident of a fairly large health system and hospital. And that gave me leadership experience, not only overseeing students and residents, but also colleagues, junior faculty, attending meetings on behalf of the Department of Medicine. And that gave me a sense that, this is interesting. I could do this. And then, of course, one thing led to another. Sometimes it's not a direct path to where you end up, where a lot of us have ended up. It may be for some, it wasn't for me. So there's some zigs and zags sometimes, but it's not always intuitive. So one of the things I tell students is to always keep your options open. You never know where life leads you. Part of this is sort of following your gut, but also, being thoughtful and always consulting with your family at each step of the way. This is not something that you do on your own. You want to make sure your family understands why you're taking certain risks in various positions, but things tend to work out. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Barber, what's your perspective on this? When you first started out back in Pakistan, I know you started out in a rural location, perhaps. What were your thoughts?
So, yeah, I started in a very remote village, somewhere close to Kabirwala. Sanaullah knows his village is close by. But I was not even sure I was going to become a doctor or not, as when college scores come in, if your scores are good, then you think, should you go to medical or not? And I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. And my brother, who was my guardian, he said, no, you're going to be a doctor. I said, okay, I'll be a doctor. There was no second guessing. But as I got to medical school, so I was studying in Lahore, living in Lahore with my brother at that time. And then I got admitted to Rawalpindi Medical College because my grades were not good enough for King Edward. So I but I didn't want to go to other colleges. I want to go away from home to enjoy freedom a little bit. So I got to Pindi, Rawalpindi Medical College, and it was brand new at that time. And most people were either local and coming from very established schools and colleges. So I felt like a little bit kind of, you can say lonely because you're away from home with almost no resources, from living to tuition fees to everything. So I realized like, yeah, I'll become a doctor. I was pretty sure I'll graduate eventually. But from very first day, I was thinking, okay, how do I make my space in this environment where I'm almost like nobody as a medical student? So I had that like desire in me to somehow shine, but I didn't know how exactly. Study hard. We were average student. We were not like one of those students who were like looking for distinctions. But I was actually spending more time on other things, how to do better socially, and in this environment, how to lead. So that was the desire I always had. That's what took me to next steps. Yeah.
Anyone else want to chime in with their experience? Perhaps Dr. Omar Latif, you are a U.S. grad. What did you think when you first joined?
Sure. No, I think my journey was probably a little different. There's several different paths to medicine. One is, I have an older brother who was very organized and a phenomenal student and went to one of these direct entry programs. I went to college and instead of that, changed my major several times, transferred from one university to another university, ultimately ended up with a degree in religious studies. And there's not a great glide path into a profitable profession with the degree in religion studies, but it was a fun journey and it was an enlightening journey. I love science and I was always interested in medicine. I come from a family with a very strong scientific background. So I decided to go to med school. And at that point, my goal was to just be a great doctor. All I wanted to do was do a good job taking care of people. I wanted an opportunity to try to prove that I could do it. Like everybody else, I have a little bit of competitiveness to me. And I really enjoyed once I transitioned from sort of the schoolroom to the actual hospital and realized that healthcare and America is largely a meritocracy. And if you work hard and do well, you can get the next role, the next role, and the next role. I started to really enjoy that. And if you love what you do, I realized really rapidly, you never felt like you were working. And I really enjoyed being a physician and I enjoyed coming to the hospital. I enjoyed seeing patients at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. And I was able to, I think, really find my passion. It was around that point when I was working as sort of a pulmonary critical care physician running an ICU in Chicago. I got a phone call from the chief medical officer who was critical of our outcomes. And my initial reaction was to think to myself, you must have really good eyes to see our outcomes from your office 6 buildings away. And I had the conventional argument that every physician has is you don't really understand. My patients are really sick. We've been working really hard. And rather than argue, he had sort of told me to prove it. My path to leadership wasn't one that I had searched out. It was one that almost came out of defensiveness from being tired of people from the outside being critical of the work that was happening on the inside. I felt like across the country, physicians were getting judged harshly. And one of the areas that I started to be passionate and excited about was understanding how quality was measured or quality outcomes were presented. And in that journey of doing it, when the ICU won some awards and then the hospital won some awards, I was given the opportunity to have more and more land to take over. So my journey was more, I didn't pursue leadership positions as much as the opportunities came out based on the work that I was passionate about. But I think the fundamental reason for me, at least to get into a leadership position, was to make real organizational changes. I think the frustration that I know that many of my peers have is when you feel unheard, when you feel like you can't make the impact that you want. And I think I got tired sort of one day of being upset and then turned over an opinion of how do I drive change or make a change. And so that's really what motivated the journey, but it certainly wasn't for desire to have, hundreds or thousands of people work for you and to take this sort of higher level position. It was really about driving meaningful change.
Excellent. Thank you for that perspective. And Dr. Omar Atik, what about your journey?
Similar to others, not exactly the same as you would expect. And so just to summarize, I think what I've heard and what's been my experience is that leadership is rarely planned. It finds you when you show up, do the work, care about your colleagues, care about your system, care about improvement. And it just begins with that. It begins with service. And that's been the experience that I've heard from my illustrious colleagues thus far. I'm certain it's the same for Dr. Sanawala, was similar for me.
Thank you. And Dr. Sanawala is the most junior person on the panel. I think you've had lots of leadership roles in hospital leadership. So would you like to share?
Um, Thank you, Dr. Mina. Starting with the med school, before the med school, the only, the goal and vision we had is how to get into the med school. So I think our journey only started after the med school. So during the med school, yes, I was actively involved myself in different leadership roles, like whatever I could have done. I was the president of the Blood Donor Society. A lot of these kind of societies, I was actively involved there. And I always believed on organized medicine. So there was the only association at that time was the Pakistan Medical Association, PMA. I think YDA came a lot after that. So I was actually during the med school and house job, I was the cultural secretary of Pakistan Medical Association, was actively involved in that. Then I was the founding president of House Officer Association. So these kind of role always excite me and help the doctors to be more engaged, more involved. So these were during the med school, and I never envisioned where I am today. I feel myself blessed, but I feel like the leadership is the learned skill. Whoever is interested, this is not something a difficult path. They have to start from somewhere, and I will encourage them to take into the leadership roles, and they can easily learn those skill set that are needed to become a leaders.
Thank you. Thank you. So this somewhat ties us to the next question that I have in mind for you all. So as sometimes for those of us who have elders who we can look up to, or mentors who we can look up to that somewhat look like us, we can relate to ethically, culturally. For you, who were some of your mentors? And I'll go to Dr. Babar on this one. Who were some of your mentors, especially coming to the United States from a rural background in Pakistan? Who did you look to for advice? Someone who you thought could relate to your challenges?
So there was this professor in NYU, Alfred Kauf, originally a German guy and a dermatologist in NYU. So I decided when I was in Pakistan that I'm going to be a dermatologist. I did not know how difficult it is in the United States to be a dermatologist. And our surgery book was Bailey and Love, most of you know, and the title page on was it Cornell hospital photo. So I got to NYU after 2-3 years of research in many other universities. I went to London, UT Southwestern, many places. And when I came to him, I told him this is my aim and this is what I want to do. And he said, it is a very difficult task, but if you can work hard, I can guide you to it. I don't know, you will become a doctor. But his guidance was, I saw him that he would help anybody. A janitor walks in, he treats him exactly like he'll treat me or you or anybody else. Or any student walks in, he never says no. Or anybody needs help, he's always helping. And we were all sitting in a small room with 7 of us and him. And the thing was like just pure hard work, very, very like vulnerable, very humane in every aspect. And I asked him, like, Dr. Kauf, you never get angry. I've never seen you angry in my life. How do you deal with that? And his clue was like, many people will say things to you, but if you react, that means you're losing your power. Whatever you need to do it, but don't react to it. And I never saw him getting angry, never bored, always just hardworking. And his thing was like, okay, because you are from a different background, so you have to do 90% better than everybody else and just work hard, be a good human, and it'll work out. And he then guided me in my life from education to personality to everything else. And I owe it to him. He was my mentor. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, very interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Hamayo or Dr. Atik, any one of you want to go next?
Sure. So I wouldn't think of it as mentors, maybe role models. I've certainly had the benefit of having lots of people who are in leadership roles that I could go to for advice. I think that's important, that's critical, but it takes time to develop those relationships. I think those have been very helpful in guiding me because I agree with Omar Latif. The U.S. is a wonderful country because it's a meritocracy, especially in healthcare. If you work hard, you will be noticed. And people are generally, regardless of background, what country they come from, or if they, grew up for generations in this country, they're generally very helpful, especially if you sound sincere and you want to make a difference and you've begun to make a difference, let's say, in clinically. Now, the other thing is, leadership roles at the local level or at the national level are not for everyone. We've all seen this. Just because you're an outstanding clinician in whatever specialty that you have doesn't necessarily mean you have the right skill set to be a leader. So one of the things I've done is just by being a keen watcher of others, seeing what they do well, how they make announcements, how they make decisions, but also looking at the mistakes they made. Every leader makes mistakes. I've made mistakes as a leader. We've all made mistakes, but learning from them and watching what others do, I think is just as important as having an identified mentor who can guide you. And for me, just the reality is there aren't too many national leaders who look like me. And so, but it doesn't matter in the United States, I think. People are generally very, very helpful if they see something in you that suggests that you're capable of doing more than you are.
Yeah, that's a good statement, that it's good in the United States. There is that where they value your, ability first, not who you're related to, but what you innately consist of. So, Dr. Omar Atiq?
Yeah, as Dr. Chaudhary mentioned, I'm not sure that I can point to a mentor, although I would in a minute, but it's more of role models, physician leaders who I observed starting from my internship. Because as an IMG, I didn't have a roadmap for navigating medicine in the United States. Much of the path had to be learned on the way, but you look at leaders with their dedication, their integrity, their humility, their helpfulness, and you try to emulate them over time. Not because you want to become a leader, because you want to become that person, a better version of yourself. And that, path, once you get on that path, that continues. In terms of specific mentorship, I was deeply impressed by my cousin by chance, but a friend by choice, Dr. Naseem Ashraf, who was one of the founders of APPNA. He was a resident. He was one of the first residents in late 70s in Michigan when APPNA was being created. And then he went on to become an APPNA president. And then he started the first APPNA Sehat program in Pakistan, a pioneer preventive health equity program that led to HDFNA and then Pakistan Human Development Fund and NCH, National Commission for Human Development. And that was for community empowerment. It started as healthcare literacy, went on to education for females, and then community empowerment. And then he turned around and then started PAC because of having some involvement in policymaking in our adopted country. As my elder cousin, as a friend, I was always with him, and I saw his intensity and his sincerity, and I liked it. I wanted to do that. Now, I wasn't successful, maybe, but he was my mentor. And sometimes you have inadvertent mentors. Just look at people who you like, whose path is something that you want to emulate. But remember, you will never be on the same path, but on a similar path. And surrounding yourself with good friends is probably one of the best advice that I can give to my younger colleagues.
I think this webinar today is sort of helping facilitate. We've put all the potential mentors for our membership here in one panel. So I think we're doing a great service for our membership by doing this. So again, very valuable words of wisdom from all of you. Dr. Omar Latif, what about you?
Yeah, I've always found that my guess is everybody who's sitting here on a Sunday during Ramadan who's watching this video is internally a little bit ambitious, a little bit curious, and wants to see where their own career could progress to, or wants to see what they can do. I think the difference is a lot of times you're internally scared of failure. We all are scared of failing. And I think one of the the benefits, exactly what Dr. Atiq was saying, is if you're surrounded by people that are supportive in general, your friends, your family who are supportive or believe in you, you'll have an opportunity to see what you're capable of doing. There's so much incredible talent where people just keep those ideas inside when they have the ability to do so much more. So for me, a mentor wasn't somebody that can say when you're getting straight A's or you're doing really well in residency or you're a chief resident saying, why don't you go do this fellowship? For me, a resident was there when you failed hard in life and you were ready to quit or do something different or think that this isn't for me. And those are the handful of people that believe in you for you. That's your mother, your father for me. And so the weirdest thing that came out was arguably the greatest mentorship I ever had in life was watching my father, who immigrated from a village in Pakistan and was able to find great success in this country by blocking out the noise, by not listening to what people told him, you're going to be successful here, you can do this, or because you're really smart here, you got first grade marks here, so this means you'll be successful. I was the person that never got an envelope that was my first choice when I opened it up. If it was for residency, if it was for fellowship, if it was for any step in my life. But I always believed that whatever I opened up was probably the right envelope for me. It maybe took some time. That was the teaching from the real mentors in your life, or the people who are there when everything is failing around you. It's incredibly easy to find great support when you're winning, when you're recognized in Forbes magazine, or you're giving a commencement speech to thousands of people. Everybody wants to be your friend that day. The mentors that I've found that are most meaningful for me are when it's a rainy night and I'm driving home, not sure whether I should go to work tomorrow, or I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. And that to me was always was a call in many ways to my father, who was able to sort of redirect or understand as a psychologist what I needed at that point in time. And that's what I hope and dream to do, not just for my children, but for anybody I have the benefit of teaching in my life.
I got your number, Dr. Latif. So know that. Okay. Dr. Saniullah?
Yes, I will be brief on this. I think at every stage of life, you know some people you trust on and you ask the guidance from. In my personal journey, when I moved to Oklahoma after completing my residency in New York, and it was a deep red state, there's hardly you see any Pakistani people there, but it is good community. And I have seen two people that I will consider as the role models, and they were very involved in the hospital leadership, chief of staff, and working with the administration very closely. And I always have an interest in leadership, so I sat with them and asked them. I was internally scared, as an IMG, how I can play a role, how I can get engaged, how I can get involved in the leadership. So I sat with them. And I think that discussion with them tremendously helped me, gave me that courage that as an internationally trained physician at IMG, I can do it. And probably that discussion definitely helped me. And I started getting involved in the hospital committees and in different roles that helped me to build those skill set that was needed. So I will consider that Dr. Azhar Khan is one of that, and Dr. Sudhir Khanna. And I will consider them as my initial role models. And then with every role, definitely you have some people that you trust on, especially when I was looking forward to be a medical director, then a chief medical officer. I had some people who definitely helped me to get into those roles. So I will suggest our internationally trained physician, especially who are interested in the leadership, that if you are interested in any leadership role, try to get some mentors, try to get some role models, sit with them, and I think that initial discussion will tremendously help you to achieve those goals.
Thank you. So the next question I think I want to direct, first of all, to Dr. Barbara Rao. He may have a hard stop. So Dr. Barbara, what are some of the skill sets? I think a couple of panelists mentioned this. What are some of the skill sets or personality traits even that you think help one pursue a leadership position, and which ones you think would be detrimental, would not help you be in a leadership role?
Well, let's talk about the second one first. If you start believing you're better than others, or you're more educated or more in any way better than other people, that would not help you. In my case, I didn't even plan for anything, as we were talking earlier. From medical school, I was giving notes for everybody who want to study because I was in some political party helping people to study better. I was in charge of my transport to help people to get from home to there. And then I got to United States. Again, I think I was really, maybe that was my own some kind of weaknesses, that I wanted to be liked by other people, or I wanted to be known by other people, but I was just helping everybody. So anybody who needs help at any level, from student to a doctor to a anybody working in the hospital, I just kept helping as much as I could. And as I was helping in different positions, to a student, to a professor, I realized maybe someday I could be at the other end, where I could be the professor or chair or whatever else. So by helping people and also delivering, like, let's say you can say 10 things. I have a formula I use for anybody who a fellow comes to me or a friend comes to me and they say 10 things. I'll do this, and have a ratio where I calculate, like, okay, if they say 10 things and they do 6, they're good. So there are a lot of people who will say a lot of things, like, I'll do this for you, or I myself did sometime. And if you don't deliver, then you're not authentic. So helping people as much as you can, promise what you can deliver, and then die for it. If you promise, you have to deliver. If you're supposed to deliver a paper on time, you have to. If you're supposed to give a talk, you have to. And if you have to take care of a patient, obviously you have to. So being persistent, being truthful, being like humble, as Umar said, both of Umar said, that's what got me to where I am. When I went to Cornell to do residency in dermatology, I couldn't imagine. That was my dream, that I will visit Cornell one day, forget residency. But I got into there as a resident. Now I'm a professor there. So, but I think it all happened because my own personality was help everybody I could and work as hard as I could, and rest just really happened. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Dr. Omar Ateek, how would you add on to that? Or what are your thoughts?
It's hard to add on to what has been said, but at every level, what I have seen is there are 3 skill sets that I think are critical for leadership. One is the credibility that you earn. Second is the communication that you develop. And third is the collaboration that you offer. At a local level, it focuses on operational excellence, solving problems, managing teams, improving patient care within specific institutions or departments or divisions. And at national level, the challenge becomes broader, and you have to build consensus and think strategically about systems and policy, but with credibility and humility. So, in other words, the leadership skill set is nothing but being a good human being. And just as all of us, and I've heard it from everybody here, and I know about that, I know about you, Dr. Qureshi, that we all stand on the shoulders of others. And to be able to then provide the same for those who are following us is really what it is. It's nothing special. People should trust you. People should believe in you. People should know that you're there to help you. People should know that your vision or your aims are far bigger than your own personal interest. And I think that generally takes care of things.
And Dr. Omar Latif?
Yeah, I would echo exactly what Babar and Omar said, which is that, being empathetic and being able to understand teams and people make a person a successful leader. But I think that one of the only additions that I would add on to that are 2 things. Is persistence and communication. I think that communication is so critical to do right now, because I've never met a leader that doesn't want to do a great job. I've never met a physician that doesn't want to provide great health care. I've never met a moderator of a discussion that didn't want that discussion to go incredibly well. Where we all fail at times is getting what we're trying to do communicated across to the people that are working on our teams. I think probably the greatest example of leadership and if this was such an easy question, there wouldn't be best-selling books every year with different titles saying the same thing. What makes a great 5 qualities of a great leader, 7 qualities of a great leader. And go to an airport and look at the best-selling things, and you'll find leadership books every time for the last 2 decades. They all almost say the same thing. You have to have a true north, a belief in what you are trying to do. What is the goal? What is the value? That is what we must all have. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? And then we have to be able to communicate that across the teams. And then when that communication fails, we have to keep trying. And so I'll just sort of close with the best example I have is when the United States was in a race to be with other countries in the world to get a person onto the moon. There was a great challenge and everybody was trying to get a person on the moon first. A group of reporters went to NASA to interview the leadership of NASA to try to understand where we were in that race. And they walked in and they met some of the environmental services people while they were there waiting for their team. So they took the microphone and they rolled it out and they asked the people that were cleaning the floors, what is your job here at NASA? And the gentleman working looked at him and said, I'm putting a man on the moon. We're gonna be the first people to put a man on the moon. So if the person that you first walk into in an organization says, this is what we're trying to do, your chance of being successful is incredibly high. And if the person who's working there says, I don't know, I'm done at 4, I'm just trying to get out of here, your chance of being successful is significantly different. Part of what all of us have to be able to do is take that intention that we have about doing something meaningful and communicate the why to everybody that works in that organization. And then when it's failing, because it will, there are 14,000 people that work in my organization, and every day 200 of them are upset. You have to get up and respond to all 200 of them. You have to be clear on the why and what you're trying to do and have that persistence. One of the things that I'll just get off sort of the subject about just for a minute is I've heard a lot of people talk about, the challenges of being an IMG and the challenges of being, a graduate here. And I think that that's often kept too low of a conversation. I know people that crawled under water buffalo and squirted milk in their mouth to drink in the villages that they grew up with that are running cancer centers in the United States of America and running surgical departments in London. The delta that those people had to go through makes each and every one of them a giant and a leader because they had a persistence that no one else could possibly have envisioned. So if you grow up in middle-class Chicago right now, when you get a tutor every time something's hard, it may be just a little bit easier than if you're growing up in a village outside of Faisalabad to make it in this country. And so I think one of the most important points is that everybody who's listening on this call at some point is a natural leader, has a persistence that few people will ever understand, and had a journey of success, and is being able to communicate that to other people that will drive successful change.
Okay, thank you. So I think sort of piggybacking on that question, so we've sort of identified and there's a common theme as to some of the common skill sets one should have. Let's go a bit on the negative side. What is a characteristic one should not have, is not optimal if you're looking to be a leader? Dr. Humayun?
Thank you. That's a great question. And let me just say that I agree completely, 100% with Dr. Omar Atik said about, or Dr. Babar Rao said about humility. I think that's critical. And Umar Latif also talked about communication skills. In terms of negative traits that sometimes don't help, although we all know leaders probably who have some of these negative traits, somehow they're in those positions, are things that we've sort of alluded to already, things like arrogance, overconfidence, or not being a team player. I remember one of my first, actually my first year on the job at FSMB as CEO, this is back in 2009, I remember someone coming up to me, one of my vice presidents, and saying, Dr. Chowdhury, we have a big question related to some engineering issue related to our buildings, and we need to decide whether we keep replacing the equipment versus buying something brand new. So I said, okay, and what do you recommend? And she said, what do I recommend? You're the CEO, it's your decision. It's like, well, I know it's my decision, but I know nothing about what you're talking about. That's not my area of expertise. I assume you've studied the matter? And she said, yes. So I assume you know what you're talking about? And she hesitated and said, I think so. I said, what would you do? And she said, well, I think I would get something new rather than keep replacing it every year. I said, sounds good, let's do that. So part of that is recognizing your weaknesses, recognizing what you don't know, and being honest about it. You're not expected as a leader, whether at a local level or at a national level or even at an international level, to have all the answers. You can't possibly. And if you claim to have all the answers, something doesn't sound right there. So for instance, the other thing is, as in terms of understanding one's weaknesses, as I sort of followed this path and suddenly I'm in charge of budgets that are $500 million, suddenly it occurred to me, I'm not good with money. I've not taken any finance courses. It's too late for me to get an MBA. I think I'm just doing the best that I can as a leader in managing hundreds, if not a few thousand people. How do I do this better? And so I took a master's degree at Harvard in healthcare management, made time for it, got the support of my employer because I wanted to understand and do my job even better. So I don't know if my colleagues have additional degrees, but and you don't have to get an additional degree, but if you know there's some area that you don't know well, and it could be in the modern sense, could be AI, maybe get some certifications or education in those areas so you can be a better leader. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert in those areas, but you'll be better informed to do your job better.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think I'm greatly benefiting from this discussion. I'm hopeful that the attendees are as well. So before we go, we do have a question from one of our attendees. So let me, this is Sophia Janjua. You had a question? Go ahead. Unmute yourself. You can ask the question.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Qureshi. This is an excellent panel, and I'm really learning a lot from all this distinguished panel. I recently finished a book, by Sheryl Sandberg called Lean In, which talks about that women in leadership. There are not many women in leadership. And my question to this panel is, how can we encourage more women to be in leadership roles, particularly in the South Asia? We are women from South Asia. And so how would you encourage, what would your advice be for women to come forward and lean in and be part of leadership in our community? Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, I would take a stab at that real quickly. So Sophia, it's nice to meet you. What I would say is that the world today and America today is actually more misogynistic than it was 5 years ago. And there's actually more challenges now for aspiring leaders to find these opportunities for a variety of reasons that are outside the scope of this conversation. The necessity is to be intentional in both your goals and organizational goals. So it is absolutely critical to have women leaders in this country and in all countries because they represent a voice of the people that we treat. You can't take care of people without understanding their language or speaking the same language. So if your patient comes to you and has a cancer diagnosis and only knows Swahili and you answer in French, you won't get very far in your conversation. So you have to understand the cultures of the people that you're talking to. Simply having one type of person as a leader will change how organizations function. Representing your community is exactly what all organizations have to do. On an organizational front, organizations have to be intentional in recruitment. But on a personal front, on what we should be teaching is to motivate people, to motivate women, that these roles are not only possible, but probable. There's more women in medical school today in the United States of America than there are men. They get higher scores in many of these metrics and benchmarks. They should get the leadership positions moving forward in the future. So it's an intentionality on the part of the student and intentionality on the part of the organization. And it's the ability to block out the negative voices that say you can't do this because you're having a family, or you can't do this because you're having this. There is a shared responsibility that everybody has to have. And if you decide to be a leader, there's absolutely no reason why one can't.
If I could quickly add to that, I completely agree with what Dr. Latif said. The face of healthcare delivery is changing. We have access to the data, and this is not surprising data to hopefully anyone on this call. There are now in the US, and I'm a US graduate as well, there are more women who are medical students more than 50% than men. And that's going to change the face of leadership as well. So along the lines of what Omar was saying, I think women who are interested in leadership positions at any level need to have a certain confidence that they can get these positions as well. If I had stopped pursuing any of the positions I've had over the years because I felt, well, they've never had someone look like me in these roles, I would have not gotten very far. So you do have to imagine yourself in those positions, do your best, make sure you meet the requirements of those positions. But if you do on paper, there's no reason whether your gender, your background, your ethnicity, or whether you have an accent or not, whether a US grad, IMG, it really shouldn't matter because it goes back to what we were saying before, that it's a meritocracy. If you have something to offer and you do it well, you will be noticed, but you do have to sort of speak up for yourself and want to take some risks because some of these positions do require risks. The risk might be moving to another state. It might be occasionally maybe even making less of a salary to get the experience to allow you later on to make more money down the road. So those kinds of calculations would occur regardless of who's considering leadership roles. But I think the first step is, after you've made that decision, is to be conscious of what's needed and be confident in yourself.
I think Sophia's question, I'm sorry, foreshadows one of our upcoming topics. So we are going to focus on that as well later in the year. So yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Omar Atiq.
Yeah, so I would add to it. I think, thanks, Sophia. That's an important question. So much as our women physicians and others should know that they belong where they are, I think it's also important for the institutions to nurture such thought and such process. I'll tell you about the American College of Physicians, of which many of us are members. About 15 years ago, there weren't many female chairs of the Board of Regents, which is one of the highest positions, or presidents. And now for the past, about 10 years, we have had more female physicians in the Board of Regents, in the position of the officers and the presidents. And in fact, one of our female physicians from Pakistan is going to be the president-elect, Sabah Hassan, starting in April. And so there is an institutional element to it where, yes, women should know that they belong, but the institution should also know that they do belong, because it makes actually the institution better. And I think there's a cultural element to it. Let's not forget that. That has to do because you asked about South Asia, that is a long-term process where, in general, parents have to, train their children about the importance of true equality.
Absolutely.
And so that goes from there.
Dr. Sayula, you have something?
Yes, I agree with Dr. Atiq. I think we are in much better times now, actually, to promote this. A lot of institutions are actively promoting and encouraging these roles. So I think it comes on our side also as a APPNA, wherever we have an influence, we need to openly talk this, to encourage our women leaders to pursue these leadership roles. And I think it's important to have the women in the leadership roles to address the workplace bias and have a fair play. And I have witnessed personally in different boards where I work with, if you have a woman leaders in the boards, in the decision making, that give a different perspective that's probably sometimes you're not even thinking of. So I think we need to start addressing, even from starting our homes. We need to encourage our daughters that they can definitely pursue the leadership roles, and we need to prepare them. We need to prepare them at med school level. We need to prepare them at APPNA platform. So at every level, we need to promote that. And I think this is a much better time to address that.
Thank you. Dr. Barber, what would you say? I think you may have missed just Dr. Sophia's question.
Yeah, but I got the gist of it. I think I'm honestly more worried about our male generation. I feel like they are a little bit behind thinking leadership wise going forward. So I think we have Sophia's and we have Saminas and Humairas and all of them, our leaders in our part where we're working. But even my department, I'm lonely there. There are more women leaders than men. So I think we are at a good spot. We should obviously encourage, but I'm a little more worried by being guys more leader in future. We need to focus on them too.
Okay, so let's bring up someone. Let's bring up the next question, and then we'll go back to the questions that I had in mind for our panel. So there's one more question from the audience. Let's see, where did they go? If I can still see them. Let's see. I think so. If you would unmute yourself and introduce yourself, because you're just coming up as infectious disease. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you, everybody. I'm Dr. Bushra Siddiq. I'm medical director at infection prevention and stewardship at a couple of hospitals, and I own my own practice. A lot of some of you who know me will identify me as an independent free spirit. So I actually was going to ask the question that Sophia did, but I'm going to use that as a segue into institutions. What are your thoughts on structural inclusivity for women leadership by institutions or organizations? My sense says that is what will be needed, and cultural shifts will happen perhaps after that, unless we have structural inclusivity for women in leadership, particularly in healthcare, where we make up more than 60% of the workforce, but less than 25% of leadership positions, as the data says. So I guess that's my question. And everybody, thank you so much for the pearls of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Anyone want to address that?
Yeah, let me, if I may, Dr. Samira, let me quickly jump in. I can tell you at the organizational level, great question. For instance, we can't just hope that women will seek leadership roles. We're really trying to make a difference intentionally. So what I mean by that is at our annual meetings, we have our annual meeting coming up in April, Dr. Sanaullah knows and others know, in Baltimore. We've decided, for instance, for panel discussions and speakers, there has to be balance. It can't just be all men. So that was done because one year we had a panel of 6 people and there were no women, and people, even men, noticed that this is not right. But at the leadership level as well, we have a nominating committee that seeks roles on our board of directors, and we've included that intentional inclusivity to make sure that we are proactive in reaching out to women leaders or emerging leaders to make sure that they know that they are welcome if they're interested in those kinds of roles. So that's what I'm doing at my organization. I know our colleagues are doing similar things in other organizations.
Yeah, and I think I'll chime in with my personal experience, even though I'm not a panelist, but I can vouch that as far as Dr. Babar Rao is concerned, what I've observed is that he's given lots of women, myself included, lots of, leadership roles within APPNA, so within the organization. So I'd like to see more and more of that happening within our own organization relevant to today within APPNA. So thank you for that, Dr. Babar. So since we have 6 minutes left, I think we'll conclude the session by going around with each of you participants with giving your parting comments, and as well as a roundabout words of wisdom, your parting words of wisdom, and how you will help the next generation, people coming after you, in guiding them and mentoring them. So I'll start off with Dr. Omar Latif.
Yeah, I would say that the most important thing, first, thank you all. It's really been an honor participating and meeting all of you. And I think these types of conversations are wonderful to have, and more often and more transparent, and the more in person you can have, the more benefits we can give to one another. I would say, just in closing, that everybody's journey is a little bit different. You have to trust that if your intentions are good and you're doing what's right, you have a true north, that you'll find success at the end. And you have to stay persistent to that. And I think that's the one thing that's lacking often in people from achieving their goals and their dreams, is it's easy to give up at some point on the way there. And there's so much negativity around, and there's so many voices that are telling us what we can or can't do. So I often tell people that I'm working with to be able to block out the noise, to be able to just stay focused on what your goals are. So that when Bobber said, I'm going to take something, there's 119 new positions every year. I don't care where I trained. I'm going to go get one of those positions and be a star in that area. Part of what he had to do was not listen to anybody tell him how hard or competitive it was. When Omar decided I was going to be the president of the ACP and it was run by, the exact same genotype of people and phenotype of people for 3 decades, he had to decide to ignore the people around him. Same with Hank and same with Mohammed. Each person, and same with you, frankly, in having the courage to lead these conversations. The fundamental point I'm trying to make is that there's more negativity and more people that are telling us every day what we can't do. And the most important thing I would say is you have to trust that you know what you're trying to do, ignore those voices and stay focused on your path. And the other thing I would say is for those who are listening, I'm happy to be a source of information and can share my email with you in the chat at any point in time. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Latif. Dr. Omar Atiq?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I would add to Omar's feelings of gratitude to APPNA, to Baba Rao as our president, to you, Dr. Samina Qureshi, and to all my colleagues. A few practical lessons that I've learned over time is for physician leadership, excel in your primary role as a physician, because credibility begins with clinical excellence. And that means the whole plethora of it, including compassion, including being present whenever it's hard to be there. Get involved in professional organizations, get involved in your hospital committees, as has been elucidated earlier. Build relationships, collaborate generously, be there for service, and leadership will find you. And be patient. Leadership, whether that's physician leadership or leadership in any arena, evolves over years. And it sometimes takes decades. So don't lose hope. Be there. If you want to talk to any one of us, if any one of us has something to offer, please do so. As Omar said, we'll be happy to, and I'd ask Dr. Qureshi, Samina, if you can please, just share our emails. You have them
Yes.
with the rest of the group. We are happy to be a sounding board. And the leadership will come to you. I promise you, if you are intentional, but when somebody knocks on that door, open it up.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
all.
you so
Thank
much for that. Dr. Humayun?
Excellent advice from my colleagues. This has been a wonderful hour. I've really enjoyed learning from my colleagues and friends as well. What I would add to what's been said is when I was starting out, I would wonder, how did these people get into those roles? And that's a natural question. And so one thing I found very useful for myself was reading the bios of accomplished leaders to get ideas. There is no one path towards leadership, but getting a sense of, what did they do? What were their steps? I found personally very helpful. I think the other lesson, if any, looking back is, sometimes, and this is important, we didn't talk about burnout or stress. It's lonely at the top. We don't share that too often, but having a network of colleagues and friends is critical. But it's important to know your limitations. We're sometimes, as students, as residents, we're taught if you want to get ahead in healthcare or in medicine, always volunteer, always say yes, come in early, leave late. If someone says, hey, do you want to serve on a committee? Yes. Well, that's fine, but at some point, that's going to burn you out, and that's not going to be helpful to you or your family. So I think the hardest thing is to say every now and then, you may not be able to say yes to an opportunity. You may have to say, I appreciate being recognized and offered this opportunity. I've thought about it. I'm going to pass because I'm just unable at the moment to find time to fit it in. But please keep me in mind in the future is perfectly okay to say. In fact, it shows me a level of maturity if I'm considering someone because I'll remember that person. I'll say, you know what? Wow, they had the maturity to tell me no, and then I may think about them again in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Humayun. So we'll go next to Dr. Saniullah, and then we'll round up and conclude with the final comments from Dr. Baba Rao and myself. Dr. Saniullah?
Thank you, Dr. Qureshi. I think great points from my colleagues. I will say there is a huge need for a physician leadership. If you are interested, you are motivated, then you need to decide, you need to be focused, and you need to be persistent. There is nothing that you cannot achieve. I think this is the right time in healthcare if you want to be a leader. But you have to pay the price for everything. You have to work hard. You have to learn the skill set. But there is a huge need of the physician leadership. And in the hospital leadership, how to get there. If anybody need any guidance, definitely it's a 1 hour. We could not talk everything. We are always open. Anybody can call us. We'll be happy to guide further. Thank you.
Thank you. And in the chat, I've shared my number. You can text me if you'd like any of the panelists' emails and contact information. I'd be more than happy to share that. So Dr. Barbara Rao?
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm definitely learning, and thank you, Samina, for organizing this. So two things are like my basic, not principles. I'm not, that much of a leader that way, but what I believed on myself was like, be good at what you do. You can do a lot of, I don't know what is the bad word, like BS, telling other people I'll do this, but if you're not good at what you do, then nobody believes you. So be a good doctor, be a good, whatever your profession is, and then be good to other people around you, be a good human. So few things happen just because of that. For example, when I went to Haiti or I went to Nepal or I did a Gulf School or Burn Center or this, I was not thinking one day I'm going to run for APPNA election, but all those things matter in the end. Like, okay, you say you'll do this, have you done that in the past? So similarly, if also be a dreamer, take risks. When I went to Cornell as resident, then I decided one day I'm going to be chairman of a department. That was my dream, and I chased it. And then I was chair at Rutgers for 23 years. But that happened because I took a risk. I took a lower job, and so believe in yourself. Be nice to other people because they will help you at various stages in your life. But still be a risk taker and be a dreamer.
Thank you. Thank you for those wonderful words of wisdom. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for your sparing your time on a Sunday afternoon. I think I personally learned a lot from each and every one of you. Definitely will be reaching out to some of you for more wisdom, more personal advice. But the purpose of this from the Advocacy Committee was to allow our membership to learn from you, because we are all for advocating on various issues that are pertinent to the physician community. And of course, how best to do that is to become a leader, whether at your hospital, your clinic, your community, and as some of you at national levels, and where you can more effectively and efficiently advocate for your issues, whatever they may be. So thank you everyone again. And inshallah, we're going to do additional webinars throughout the year under the Advocacy Committee, and I may be tapping one of you or some of you for additional topics. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Samina. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.